Now, Kadeisha Buchanan, our very own Kadeisha Buchanan, one of the greatest players Cannes has ever produced, going for her 4th Champions League crown.
Amazing.
Just amazing. And, you know, a player that isn't perhaps a household name and probably should be. Everyone knows Christine Sinclair, but the last number of years, Kadeisha's made a huge impact in the game in this country.
Yeah, you know, it's just the lack of exposure for a player like Kadeisha Buchanan. She is excellent. So remember playing really young, coming through the national team, strong, physically excellent, and she's at a possibly the best club there is for women's football for development. They're serial winners. They haven't lost a game, I don't believe, since May 2018 when they lost to Wolfsburg, but they've been in this final against Wolfsburg the last few years. There's 3 really strong defenders that she competes with for that center back position. One of them's injured, so since they've come back to play, she's been a regular, and she's also played in 6 Champions League games this season, so really being a key figure for an outstanding outfit against another side. Wolfsburg also very dominant. And I don't think they've lost for some 40 games since losing to Lille.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at Lyon's record in recent years, though. I mean, this is a dynasty. And I think it's important in leagues to have dynasties, to get that big bad team that everyone wants to beat, Ricky. And women's soccer have it right now. The game's getting bigger globally. Women's league in England, for example, is getting very, very strong at the moment. We've seen some, like Jessie Fleming, join Man City, for example, this past off-season. But Lyon, what a team as this game gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, fantastic team. I'm just, like he said the correct word, exposure. For me, like when I see a situation was hopefully going to transpire and she wins a 4th consecutive title, I see something bigger than that. So her story is a beautiful story. She's one of 7 kids, single parent home from Brampton. And then now she's on the verge of doing something which hopefully shines more light on the kids back here. Hopefully she's aware of that. She's had over 100 Canadian caps. And I just think it's a phenomenal story, and hopefully that exposure can be brought back home for the next set of Canadian
You would
young
hope
girls.
so, Ron, but then at the same time, she's won 3 Champions Leagues in a row, and that's, you know, there's
no exposure.
No exposure. How many does she have to win?
That's why we're here at One Soccer.
Well, we need TV, right, essentially. You know, the women's national team has got some really great exposure over recent years, of course, with great performances at the Olympics, you know, and obviously World Cup being in Vancouver not so long ago here. But club football doesn't get the exposure it deserves. And that's the next step, perhaps, for women's soccer, because as the world gets bigger and it's harder for Canada to compete on the world stage, we should focus on these girls playing at these big clubs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The game is certainly the fastest growing side of the game of soccer is in the women's department, for sure. And that's also going to make things life difficult for the Canadian national team as other teams take it more seriously. And especially with domestic leagues, those domestic leagues are going to develop players. We don't have that here. One day we hope that we will have a women's league here, as well as when the men's league that's just started a couple of years ago too, because that's a big factor in development. And as other teams catch up, it's going to be hard to keep up with that pace.